Alright guys, you guys are welcome to this particular video. We'll be getting started with CSS. As you guys can see, CSS stands for Cascading Style Sheet, and CSS is not a programming language. CSS is style sheet, while HTML as well is not a programming language, and HTML is a markup language. So we want to see how we can get started with CSS and basically start writing our first CSS. So sit back and relax. So now the first thing I'm going to do is actually go, I came in here, I created a folder instead of my system, and I call this particular folder CSS, right? So, and as usual, I've dragged the folder into my VS Code. So just in case you're wondering, how do I get my folder to appear right here? My VS Code is very simple. If you open your VS Code, you can just click and drag it here, or you can go to File in your VS Code and click on Open Folder. Then when you click on Open Folder, you just go around and select that particular folder right where it is, and it will come up. So let me try and do that in my own. If I go back a little bit, website design, I go back a little bit, I should see those folders somewhere here. Front end, I'll just see my CSS folder here. I can click on open and it will just automatically open and bring me in here, right, as usual. Now if you're actually watching this video according to the series, that means you're coming from the HTML part of the video before you got here, and you should know that I have this tradition of always creating a basic structure for my HTML document, and that's the same thing I'm going to do. So under my CSS here, and I'm going to create a new file, and this particular first file, I'm just going to call it intro.html, right? So let's just give it a name. Let's just call it intro. Let me start with number. I'll say intro.html. Make me to spell that intro very well. Alright, that's cool. Then since our introduction, I'm just going to write doc to create my first HTML, right? So the first thing again, and that thing again I want to talk about CSS is the fact that where do we add CSS? How do we include CSS in our document, right? So I'll just call this one syntax. I'll say introduction and syntax as a title, intro and syntax. Alright, perfect. Then we want to take a look at the simple syntax of CSS, right? So what exactly is syntax? Syntax is the way that a certain thing is being written. It's like a formula, right? The manner at which something is being written. So for CSS, if you want to learn CSS, you basically want to learn what we call properties, right? In HTML, if you remember, while we are learning HTML, if you watch the HTML videos, but if you don't watch HTML videos, you can, okay, I will leave a link in the description where you can actually click to have access to all of the HTML videos, right? So coming from our HTML, what we learned was tags. In CSS, what we'll be learning will be what? Properties, right? So, and for CSS, the syntax of CSS looks like this. Let me just write it down here, and I'll still going to delete it. So when you're learning CSS, you're learning properties. So syntax of CSS looks like this: properties, like properties colon, then value, semicolon. So basically this is what we are learning in CSS: properties colon value. So I just want you to probably memorize this particular line I just wrote down here, or jot it down somewhere in your sheet of paper or something. Properties colon value semicolon. That is the syntax of CSS. So the next thing that you might want to be asking yourself is, how do I add CSS to my document, right? My first document, where should I include CSS instead of my HTML? Now you guys can remember that before all this while we used to create our simple HTML like this. I can write welcome to CSS, welcome to CSS, and let me drop a paragraph tag here, and I'll say this is my first CSS. Alright, let's put a full stop there. So this is our regular HTML. If we save it, we can easily run it on our browser by going to our folder and click on open with and open with Google Chrome. And when we do that, we can see that we have welcome to CSS. This is my first CSS. This has been what we have been writing, and it has all been black and white. In other words, they have not been colors, right? But with CSS, we can actually start adding colors to these things and see how it goes. Now, in the next video, I'll be showing you guys how we can add our first lines of CSS. See you guys in the next videos.